news at Sunrise.
Good Saturday morning, everybody. Thank you for waking up with us here on Sunrise. I'm Maggie Vespa. And topping headlines this morning, a rural Washington community is targeted by thieves. Someone took off with life-saving equipment from that town's fire station.
It's just all part of the game here. I mean, it's just, we need this equipment, and this is what we do, and this is what we love.
Yeah, this morning we're hearing from the fire commissioner about what this means for service in that area. Plus, an incredible story of survival. A man got trapped in his car in a freezing river for 5 hours. How he lived to tell that tale. But we're going to begin on this Saturday morning with an update on those severe winds. They moved in yesterday from the coast up through eastern Oregon. And this morning, about 1,500 people in the Portland area are still without power. Last night, about 3,500 people were in the dark, the result of trees falling on power lines. This happened at several points around the city. Beyond that, thankfully, no major reports of damage. This right here is a look at one incident in northeast Portland on Lombard at Mallory. A tree came down there blocking 2 lanes on the road. We're told it has now been cleared. And for more on that windstorm and its remnants and what we can expect today, Vanessa Paz is standing by with a look at the forecast. Hey, Vanessa.
Good morning, Maggie. Happy Saturday, everyone. Hey, speaking of those winds, we saw gusts from about 40 to 75 miles per hour yesterday, ranging from the coastline to the Portland metro area to the Cascades. But today they will come down significantly and high pressure will build in, which of course means we'll see a lot of dry skies. So take advantage of that. Tomorrow is going to be quite a different story. I'll get more into that in my full forecast. But meanwhile, quickly taking you over to the Portland metro area. Current temperatures are about 41 degrees, and we're going to remain pretty mild today and tomorrow. Highs are going to reach about 50. Like I said, today is going to be the dry day to do anything you need to do if you have any outdoor plans. That's because tomorrow rain will set in and we're going to get a series of kind of fronts that's going to make for a very wet end to your weekend. And then of course we have another system on the way Monday, a heavier one. I'll get more into that though in my full forecast. Maggie.
All right, Vanessa, sounds good. Thank you. And continuing our storm coverage, that wind also caused damage to our south in Eugene. This tree right here almost hit a woman when it came down in her front yard. The 60-year-old Norway spruce fell as she was pulling into her driveway in her brand new car.
And more pine cones kept hitting the car, and I thought, no, I don't want my new car dented. So I pulled out and parked it, and then I watched the tree fall. It was unbelievable. I'm just thankful to be alive.
Yeah, whatever works, the car will do it. Well, that tree did, though, hit another parked car. But again, most importantly, no one was hurt. And here's a look at where I was yesterday, the Oregon coast, where a high wind warning was in effect for most of the day. No reports there of damage or injuries, but you can see winds just pummeled the Oregon beaches. Gusts topped out around 60 miles per hour, higher in some places, and most of the wind died down in the early afternoon. Storm watchers, though, definitely not fazed. A lot of them took advantage of the opportunity to see the sheer power of that storm. And by the way, KGW now has an app exclusively for weather coverage. So with that, you can get hourly forecasts, severe weather alerts, and radar just for your area. So just search for the Portland Weather app for Apple or for Google Play. Well, changing gears this morning now to a disturbing story out of Grays River, Washington. Thieves stole an ambulance and ransacked a fire truck, leaving the small town without $50,000 worth of life-saving equipment. KGW's Mike Benner went out to talk with the fire commissioner and says the town is devastated.
Outside of this hard-to-miss watering hole, the small town of Grays River, Washington doesn't have much. But it does have its own fire department.
We have 450 homes and 200 square miles that we have to cover and protect.
A job made more difficult after a costly break-in earlier this week.
Tears me up.
A visibly upset Mark Leatham says sometime between Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, somebody broke into the firehouse on Highway 4 and stole the ambulance. Before abandoning it, Leatham says the crook stole a bunch of life-saving equipment, including chainsaws, the jaws of life, and a life pack.
Monitors your oxygen, monitors your heart rate, and gives us, of course, the EKG printout, your oxygen stats, your blood pressure readings and stuff like that.
Leatham says that device alone is north of $30,000. And making matters even worse, he says the thieves ransacked a fire engine, taking a defibrillator and 2 air packs.
No masks were taken. I don't know why anybody would want that. It's just worthless without a mask.
The fire department is now out more than $50,000 worth of equipment. But more importantly, the community is at a disadvantage.
Thank God they didn't take a knife to the seats, or they didn't vandalize anything. It's just that they took some of these higher dollar items that are going to be hard to replace.
Fire Commissioner Leatham hopes the equipment is returned, although he says it's unlikely. Regardless, he wants the community to know this.
I mean, we're ready to go when we get called. We're just not quite up to par.
Mike Benner for KGW News.
And anyone with information about that crime is urged to contact the Wahkiakum County Sheriff's Office. Well, at the same time, Clark County deputies arrested the driver who they say hit a Walmart employee and then took off. Look at that video right there. You can see the driver's going slow, but then there it is. He hits that worker hard and then he jumps out, grabs a backpack and takes off. Deputies say the car he was driving was stolen and they tracked down a suspect soon after. His name is Michael Houston. It appears they say that he was on drugs. Deputies say they had to give him a dose of Narcan during his arrest. He is now facing several charges. Well, an African-American family in Washington County says someone slashed the black inflatable decoration, the Santa decoration they had put up in their yard, and they discovered that it was slashed on Thursday morning. They believe someone targeted them. They don't think this was random. Several families in their neighborhood have white inflatable Santas. None of those were touched.
I'm feeling depressed because I would not have put that out there if I would have thought that this is the reaction I would have gotten. I didn't in a million years think that this was something that would happen in our neighborhood, in our community.
Yeah, that's definitely depressing. Deputies say they're investigating this as vandalism, but they're having trouble looking for suspects because of a lack of surveillance video. Well, now to an incredible escape for a California man. He survived inside a partially, in fact, mostly submerged car for nearly 5 hours. Deputies say he crashed into the Klamath River in Northern California early Wednesday morning. The Highway Patrol wasn't alerted to that crash until more than 2 hours later, and then a dive team was able to use a tow truck to lift the car up to the road. Responders say airbags were blocking the windows, so they couldn't see anyone inside until the doors opened up.
He opened his door and the guy looked at him and told him, "Help me." And my deputy goes, "Oh my Lord, there's somebody alive." But I believe he just had the will to survive, and people always say that is the more you believe you could survive, the better chance you have.
We're so glad he did. The 28-year-old driver says he survived by breathing from an air pocket inside his car. He was taken to a hospital and then released the next day. Well, back here at home, friends and family gathered in Portland to remember the life of a Holocaust survivor killed this week after being hit by a car. He was well known in the community and he touched so many lives by sharing his story of survival. KGW's Devin Haskins shows us how he was remembered as a father, a friend, and a hero.
I would like to give our deepest condolences.
At the Neve Shalom Synagogue in southwest Portland,
Altar is being accompanied right now by countless of good deeds.
Alter Wiener was remembered as more than a father. He was a man torn apart by the murder of his own family and living the nightmare of a Nazi prisoner.
Being the son of Alter Wiener was 24/7 Holocaust.
The atrocities of the Holocaust were always with him.
When my kids were young, I'd read them Goodbye Moon or some children's book. Dad used to lay in bed with me and tell me stories of life in the shtetl and Kshanouf, in the concentration camps.
These stories were always told throughout Alter's life. He never could forget what happened.
It's called PTSD. In the case of a 13-year-old child, it's much deeper PTSD. It's called survivor guilt.
Alter was never one to publicly tell his story. That is, until he moved to Oregon almost 20 years ago. In 2007, he wrote a book titled 64735, From a Name to a Number. That's when he started to really talk about his life.
he said that I will give a talk and I'm going to pay for it for days and sometimes weeks.
Good morning, and thank you all.
He spoke at schools, captivating anyone who would listen.
I first met Alter when I was 9 years old, and I didn't quite know how he would change my life.
Lake Oswego freshman Claire Sarnowski.
He inspired me for the future and gave me hope for my generation.
The two became friends, even working together to get a bill passed in Salem that would require genocide lessons to be taught in all Oregon schools.
It is something that's very near and dear to my heart, and I know something that was close to Alter's. I wanted to make his dream come true.
Alter Wiener was 92 years old. In Portland, Devin Haskins, KGW News.
And our hearts go out to his family this morning.